Hello everyone and welcome to the Pragati Vichar Literature Festival 2024 Authors Marathon. This is Drishti, the media representative of Frontless Media. Today's theme for this session is history, and the name for today's session is Revolutionaries of India, Unveiling Hidden Chapters in the Quest for Independence. Now I'd like to welcome our wonderful panelists. Thank you for joining us today. Let me introduce them to our audience. First, we have Abhijeet Bhalerao. He is an Indian author, translator, visual artist, orator, and a visiting faculty to Mumbai University, known for his research and Marathi translation of Shahid Bhagat Singh's jail diary. He is an income tax inspector by profession, working for the Government of India, and is currently posted in Mumbai. His upcoming historical fiction is titled The Man Who Avenged Bhagat Singh, which is about a forgotten revolutionary who avenged the death of Bhagat Singh by killing a traitor who betrayed Bhagat Singh and the Indian Revolution. Thank you for joining us today. And our next panelist is Mr. Prasun Roy. He is a best-selling author of several best-selling books, known for their gripping and appealing narrative style written in simple language. He has written extensively in the genres of biography, translations, history, crime thrillers, mythology, and the paranormal. Prashur has a remarkable lineup of fiction titles, varied subgenres of mystery, adventure, young adult, and thriller. He has delivered lectures at eminent institutes like the IIT Kanpur, IIT Delhi, All India Radio, and the National Library. He has been a prominent speaker at many prestigious literary festivals, including Tata Steel Kolkata Literary Meet, Valley of Words International Literature and Arts Festival, among others. It's lovely to have you both here today. So let us start with the session. My first question to Mr. Prasun is, what inspired you individually to explore the lives of Indian revolutionaries, and how do you believe their stories contribute to a more comprehensive understanding of India's quest for independence?
Okay, so there was a time when I was initially writing fiction for children. So two of my initial books were fiction titles for children. And then I thought of writing about the unsung heroes of our country. And that is when I came to, read more about a man called Sri Rashbihari Bose, and he belongs to Bengal. But, when I started to read about him, I understood that he was not any simple revolutionary who had done one particular deed in his life. His life was like a process, I would say, which matured him from a firebrand revolutionary to a global leader. And unfortunately, even in Kolkata, there is a street called the Rashbihari Avenue. I keep on telling this. And many in Kolkata also don't know that that street is not named after Rashbihari Bose. So he has been completely forgotten. And he's a man who gave the slogan called Asia for Asians to the entire Southeast Asia. He was the man who germinated the idea that India's independence would lead to a greater freedom for the entire world where peace would prevail. He was the man who created the Indian National Army. So he had many deeds which led to our independence movement being successful. But we have forgotten him. And that is what inspired me to write about him. And what I think is that for a comprehensive understanding of our independence movement, we need to understand all aspects of it. So there is a revolutionary side of India's independence struggle also, which is not there in the popular narrative that we read in schools, in colleges, or we discuss every day. It started in the early 1900s, right from World War I. There was the Gadar struggle that happened. There was the formation of the Indian National Army going ahead near the World War II. There was the INA trials which happened thereafter. There was the Royal Navy mutiny which happened, everything together, the revolutionaries played a major role as to why the British decided to leave our country and free India. And they always were the proponents of complete independence, which is opposite to the popular other narrative, which is that of taking a dominion status and remaining a dominion of the British. So that is a narrative which was very much there. And I personally believe that it played the most significant role in why we are living in a free country today. So that understanding is very important. And that is why the stories of these revolutionaries must be there in the popular narrative.
Yes, it indeed is very important. My same question to Mr. Abhijit. What inspired you individually to explore the lives of these revolutionaries?
So I completely agree with Prasun, what he is saying. So the current generation needs to understand that the independence struggle was not a monolithic campaign. So there was our understanding is that only one party or one ideology drove the independence movement, but it was not the fact. If we look at our history, there are tens of movements which were going on since the British started to occupy our country. If we go into Adivasi revolutions, we can see farmer movements, labor movements, and of course, the most prominent, which we are interested in, the revolutionary movement. Generally, in popular understanding, revolutionary movement is not seen as a whole. It is seen in an incident. People see Gadar movement, the Kakori robbery, the HSRA thing, the Chittagong thing, the INA thing. But when we study in depth of these events, we can see it is a connected movement. It started since the Britishers started to occupy our country, and it ended when the country got independence. So it was parallel. It was as important as the main narrative as we understand. And so it inspired me to go into the depth of it to get a better understanding how we got the independence. It is the story of independence struggle is not black and white. I would like to recite a Hindi saying which goes like this: जाने कितने झूल गए फांसी पर, जाने कितनों ने गोलियां खाई थी, क्यों झूठ बोलते हो साहब कि सिर्फ चरखे से आजादी आई थी. So
True.
the better understanding uh, of independence struggle is required to get a scene where the independence we got by the end of it is was not very simple. It was not presented on a silver platter to us. Thousands and thousands of people have died for this country, and the generation today, even including us, everyone living in this country, needs to understand that we are actually in depth to this revolutionary. So this started my journey. 10 years ago, I started doing research on the jail notebook of Shahid Bhagat Singh, which he had written in the last time of his life before he was executed. And when I got into the book, I saw that he was actually taking notes from the famous Western authors, and he was keeping the diary as a notes and not his own daily experience or his view on anything. So that was something very strange. Like, he knew he was going to die. The government was not good. The Raj was not going to let him go alive. And this man, who is going to die very soon, was taking notes from famous authors. So it was kind of code. And when I went deeper into it, I found that he was actually writing, he was actually portraying his dream of independent India. So these people were different. These people were made from different stuff, and our uh, countrymen needs to know why did they die for this country, and how did they die for this country, and how did they fought. So I went into this thing.
Mhm. So my next question to you both is: uncovering hidden chapters often involves extensive research. Could you share a standout discovery or moment during your research that significantly impacted your understanding of the revolutionaries you have focused on? Let's start with Mr. Abhijit, sir.
So, while researching for my novel, which is out on 18th, like yesterday, so the main topic of my novel is the forgotten revolutionary. The name of revolutionary is Baikun Shukul, and even most people from Bihar don't know about Baikun Shukul. So this is a young teacher, pre-primary teacher living in Bihar. This person has never met Bhagat Singh or Chandrasekhar Azad in life, but he considers them as an idol. He worships Bhagat Singh and Chandrasekhar Azad. He understands that what struggle and what it takes to die for the country. And when Bhagat Singh is dead, this pre-primary teacher takes the responsibility on himself to avenge his hero. So this fact itself is so engrossing as we can understand how much people loved Revolutionary. While the main narrative goes like this, while researching for this, I found many personalities and many characters which are completely forgotten in the history. For example, there is a boy named Yashpal. He was just 10 years old. He was living in Lahore. He was General Secretary of Bal Bharat Sabha. So basically, HSRA's civil wing was Naujawan Bharat Sabha in Lahore. And for children, they had made another institution which was called Bal Bharat Sabha, for in which the children below the age of 12 were the members. And this boy, aged 10, his name was Yashpal. He was the secretary of Lahore city. And this man was absolute fan of Bhagat Singh. What did he do? He started to harass the constables, policemen. He started to gather boys and girls below the age of 10 and started rallying around Lahore in support of Bhagat Singh. The Raj arrested that boy, 10-year-old boy, and sentenced him to 3 months of rigorous imprisonment and 3 years of rehabilitation. The news went to London, and a special inquiry was assigned on this topic, in which I have found a telegram which says like the juveniles cannot be treated like this. There was a juvenile act in those times, and I also found the inquiry report in which it said that this boy, 10-year-old, can become a dangerous revolutionary, so it is necessary to punish him. We had these heroes who were just 10 years old and stood for the revolutionaries. And this discovery was so amazing. Even in academic circles, people have forgotten this boy named Yashpal. So along with this discovery, I have also found many other narratives, but this was one of the eye-opening facts which showed me how common people like you and me loved Bhagat Singh and revolutionary and was ready to go to any length to support their heroes.
That was a really impactful story. What are your thoughts on this, Mr. Prashant?
Yeah, so I completely agree with Abhijit that there are so many unknown people who are there in the entire revolutionary struggle. So while I was writing about Sri Rajbihari Bose, uh, similarly, I also found several names of people who were associated with him in his journey. There was Boshanto Biswas who threw a bomb at the viceroy when the capital was getting shifted from Bengal to Delhi at that time. He was a young 15-year-old boy who threw a bomb at the viceroy himself. And dressed like a woman, he went on into the parade and threw the bomb. He was later hanged 2 years later. And the another eye-opening fact was like the personality of Rajbihari Bose. He had been born in Bengal, but he had lived his life across various cities of this country. And he was forced to, rather, I would say, from Bengal to Banaras to Dehradun to Lahore, every city he had visited for his revolutionary activities. And at that particular point of time, when communications was not that strong as we are today, in that age, he had the ability to convince masses to join him in his activities. Even when he landed in Japan, he only knew four Japanese words. But in the span of 15, 20 years, he was the most respected citizen of Japan. So this was the personality which this man carried, which allowed him to convince the Japanese government to leave their 2 lakh prisoners of wars to his hands so that he could form an independent army in itself. So that is not something very small. He had this enormous leadership in him, which we have forgotten completely. So that was an eye-opening fact that why shouldn't the country know about such a hero? And another interesting thing I would share with you is like after I had written this book and this book got published, there had been incidences where I met family members who came and connected with me. So there was this man called Amarendranath Chatterjee, who was a fund collector for the revolutionary organization called Jugantar for Bagha Jyoti. Amarendranath was a very close associated with Rashbihari Bose. So few days back, I was in Delhi for a session when somebody called me and said that I am the grand nephew of Amarendranath, and he's a retired professor who lives in Delhi. He said, I want to attend your event. Before the book's launch, even a night before, somebody called me and said that I'm the sons of Rashbihari Bose and his, stepbrothers. So they themselves came to attend the book launch event. And we met families of the INA soldiers whose grandfathers used to work as part of the Indian National Army. So these were eye-opening facts when people come and still remember what their family members did after the country has completely, erased it from their memories. It's not like the narrative is not there. It is freely available. You have the National Archives, the National Libraries, everywhere the data is there, but the discussions don't happen. So that is an eye-opening fact, I would say.
Yes, like you said, there are just so many interesting narratives that only are uncovered when you go into like extensive research, like you both did. Uh, so my next question to you is, writing about historical figures requires balancing fact and storytelling. How did you navigate this challenge to make the narratives engaging while staying true to the historical accuracy of the event? Let's start with Mr. Prashant.
Okay, so I have been working on the unsung hero projects, and Rashbihari Bose was the first man about whom I wrote. And what I had chosen for my books was what we call as the narrative nonfiction, which uses dialogues to depict scenes where you can actually look into those chapters as if they are fiction happening in front of your eyes. So there is a visual effect to that, giving it a dramatic scene along with facts club to it. So when Rashbihari Bose is there in, say, Banaras, I have given dialogues which say he's talking with Sachindranath Sanyal. So there's a point where they are changing their residence 3 times because the police were hunting for them and they needed to change their location several times. So the talking that happens between the two, nobody knows what they were speaking, but we know what the outcomes were. So there I had used the use of dialogues between two characters over there. But then again, we have roped them down to facts and figures as to which particular location they went, where were they staying, which were the people they were meeting. So it is a mixture of narrative nonfiction and facts, which keep the narrative in a way that today's readers of every age would love to read this book and not consider it something like a textbook. So textbooks had already eliminated these people from the narrative. So Abhijit would agree. So no one is
Yes.
there from the revolutionaries over here. So let's
Yes.
write it in a way so that people find it interesting rather than reading a fiction book. They would rather read a narrative non-fiction, which would be interesting as well as eye-opening. So that is what I tried to do.
Yes, I completely agree with you there. What has been your experience, Mr. Abhijit?
So my method of writing these stories it's a simple formula. First, go into in-depth research. And like Prasun said, go to National Archives, go to n number of things from primary sources, secondary sources. get all the data there is. Second, do not compromise anything on accuracy of data like events, facts, personalities, names, places, and outcomes of events also. When these two things you have, there is a simple gap where you can fictionalize the conversations, the settings, the backgrounds, the events, or the you can put a little drama into this event. So even uh, we are talking about revolutionaries, so there is full of drama in their lives. We don't need to add anything into their lives. So it is all absolute full of drama. It's complete packed action thriller. Each revolutionary's life was complete action packed thriller. So I choose to write in dramatic retelling of a person's life. My book is titled as historical fiction, although 99% what I have written is complete non-fiction, is completely honest and to the point with history, but I choose to go in the way of fiction only to make it some sort of interesting to the readers, because ultimately what people remembers are stories. So generally, if you talk to younger children, they would say history is boring, because in textbooks the history is presented in format of facts and figures and events. So it has become boring. But if you present history in format of story, interesting story, people will remember it. So as Prasun has said, these people have been erased from our textbooks. So it is our job to get it into the minds of our countrymen, and we both choose the format of stories. So that is, and while doing it, there are two most important things which one should remember. One is ethical storytelling is must, and second thing is not to sensationalize anything unnecessary. So in the age of social media, where everything is over sensationalized for gathering views and TRPs and whatnot, the basic understanding of ethical storytelling is must to write this kind of literature.
So we are doing a balancing act between movies like Bajirao Mastani and Jodha Akbar,
Yes,
and
yes,
between historical books that
yes,
we get to read. So we are in between, creating a balance between the two extremes.
yes,
Wonderful. That's a wonderful balance. What I understand is you guys take facts and make it easier for people to visualize it and dramatize it,
yes,
but keeping it very close to the reality.
yes.
Yeah. So wonderful. Our next question is: in what ways do you see these revolutionaries resonating with contemporary audiences, and what lessons or inspirations can today's generation draw from their struggles? Let's start with Mr. Abhijit.
So the first fact that uh, important to uncover these forgotten revolutionaries, we get to know that they are from different areas of this country. So, for example, my hero of my book, the man who avenged Bhagat Singh, is from Bihar. And in popular narration, very few people know the revolutionary party's work in Bihar. The Biharis mostly talk about Champaran, the work of Congress, the work of Rajendra Prasad, Acharya Kripalani, etc. But in this book, I have written the revolutionaries' contribution from the Bihar's angle. So when the young men would read this book and would understand, for example, if a person is from Muzaffarpur and he understands that he is living in the area where this man used to live, Baikun Shukla, and who went on to avenge Bhagat Singh, you can see how the person's personality will change, how his understanding and respect for his own hometown, his area, his legacy, his roots would change. And this social awareness has to go there. See, in the age of social media and internet, the world has become a small place. Even if you look at the West, there is and a crisis of identity crisis. Those people are trying to find their roots. Americans are trying to find their roots from Europe, while we, as Indians, are still connected to our roots by one or two or three generations. If we choose to uncover these forgotten revolutionaries, we get every Indian can get a personalized connection to freedom struggle. See how important this thing is. If I am a college goer, if I am a young job doer, if I am IT profession, if I may work in any field, but if I can get a personal, authentic connection to independence struggle, the fact merely can change an individual personality. That fact can make a citizen more responsible. And in general, if you see across the time, the revolutionaries had commanded significant amount of respect from common people. With respect to the Congress leaders, the revolutionaries were most respected people in the country. If you see the even today's following of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose or Shahid Bhagat Singh, these people are like superheroes. These are our superheroes. So if you can get individual connection to these people, it can make the citizens more responsible. This and we can understand the diversity of movements through which we got this independence.
Absolutely. What are your thoughts on this, Mr. Vishnu?
Okay, so I agree with Abhijit what he said. And knowing the history is not just to know who we were. History, knowing the correct history, I would say, is to know what we can become as a nation. So it is not just about knowing what India was, what the people, the revolutionaries were like. It is also about knowing it, knowing what we are, who we are, and that will define us as what we can do in the future. So that is very important for India tomorrow. That is going to happen in the coming years, in the coming generations. So unless we know who we are, there was a man who was a very famous personality in literature of India. He said that, an Englishman's son knows that my father was a king, his father was another king. But in India, we are made to know that I was a downtrodden farmer. My father was a downtrodden farmer. His father was also a downtrodden farmer who could never revolt against the British. So, unless we know that, no, that is not the truth, how will we get that courage to tomorrow say that, no, we can also lead the entire world forward? So, we need to demystify this history first, that we were not just ruled by the British or the other rulers. We were ourselves leaders. We were the backbone of the British army for which they could rule the entire world. So all these facts needs to be known, and the story of complete independence which these revolutionaries had always sung, that is something which is a story of courage, which is a story of leadership. That is something which today's generation would know. Then only they can become more confident about what they can do for the country tomorrow. So the contemporary audience needs to know this, not only to know the correct history, but also to be proud of who we are, and also to lead the nation forward, I would say.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. So, our next question is, beyond preserving history, do you believe there is a broader societal impact in telling these stories today? And if so, how can these narratives influence social consciousness and awareness? Let's start with Mr. Prashun.
Okay, so I think the broader societal impact in telling these stories is that, there are several blunders that we had done while writing our history, and that needs to be undone. So, our historians, the initial historians who had written our history books, were mainly following the British historians. So, there are books like Terrorism in Bengal, written by somebody called Mr. A.K. Shamanto. It should be called Revolution in Bengal, not Terrorism in Bengal. They were not terrorists, they were revolutionaries. What is terrorism? Terrorism is killing innocent people. Did our revolutionaries ever kill an innocent man? No. They were all political assassinations or politically targeted attempts to prove what we are worth of. So that is something which is very important, because the parallel history, the recorrection of history is very important. That is a broader societal impact for our nation and for the world to know what India was. And secondly, I would say that most of these heroes have been made into gods, into deities. तो इनको माला चढ़ा दो, फूल दिला दो, घर में नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस का एक फोटो लगा दीजिए, भगत सिंह का एक फोटो लगा दीजिए, उस पर माला चढ़ा दीजिए ऑन हिज बर्थडे और ऑन हिज ऑन भगत सिंह असैसिनेशन डे. सो उनको भगवान बनाने से क्या होता है? वी ओनली रिमेंबर देम ऑन दैट पर्टिकुलर डे, कि हाँ टुडे इनका ये जयंती है, इनका जन्म जयंती है इस दिन. दैट इज नॉट समथिंग विच दीज पीपल लिव्ड फॉर और डाइड फॉर. They did something to create a better world for us, the third generation, I would say, from their lives. So we need to first make them humans, not make them deities. उनको भगवान बना देने से we are actually moving them out from our lives. So that is a societal impact. When we tell these stories in the way Abhijeet was saying, okay, we need to tell them like stories, then they would become more human. We can attach ourselves with them. We can relate to them. So that is a societal impact, I think, which is significant in this way.
Yeah, absolutely. What would you add to this, Mr.
So societal impact of revolutionaries is very significant. I can tell from an example. I teach Maratha history and war strategy in Mumbai University. If you know, during the time of independence struggle, some historians and political leaders like Lokmanya Tilak used specific chapters and the rise of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj and the struggle of Marathas against the might of Mughal Empire to inspire Indians. So it was a direct connection made to people living in the slavery of British. They told a story in a way that, see, Mughal Empire was the most powerful, richest, and most dangerous empire in the world. And against this Mughal Empire stood few men who were basically farmers, and they were nobodies, and still they won, and they created Maratha Empire. So this thing inspired whole society and created a narrative that we as a common people can fight against British. So from this narrative, from this line of storytelling, from this point of storytelling, emerged a whole batch of revolutionaries, right from Vasudev Balwant Padke to Chafekar Bandus to Vishnu Ganesh Pingle. He was from Gadar movement,
Right.
and Rajguru, which was in HSRA, and even later revolutionaries. So
Right.
this independent movement used history and stories of our heroes to inspire the current generation. So, as we are talking of this time, is 2023 or let's say 24, that needs to be redone, but not with medieval history, although we can use medieval history also, but the forgotten heroes of Indian independence struggle. So if we can find these gems, like Prasun has written about Raj Bihari Bose, his next book is about Bhaga Jatin. My book is about Baikun Shukla. And there are many these people which can create a social consciousness in pockets of our country, which can inspire our youth, and it can change the social consciousness. See, if you look at the youth today, and if you will ask any college goer, who is your hero, who is your favorite superhero, who you look up to, and even in if you're strolling in Mumbai or Delhi, you can easily spot a person using a Che Guevara's t-shirt. But it
Yeah.
is very rare to find a person using the t-shirt of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose or Chandrasekhar Azad or Bhagat Singh. So we as Indians have failed our revolutionaries. You will see a Bhagat Singh only in Punjab. Even in Maharashtra, we have almost forgotten Rajguru. You will see Netaji only in Bengal. So these Netaji, although he was born in Bengal, he was not limited to Bengal. Bhagat Singh's work was not limited to Punjab, and now neither Rajguru's work was limited to Maharashtra. So these were pan-India people. These were our superheroes, and these characters has to be etched in the memories and the psyche of our children to make them better people, better citizens. They need to conquer their fear. They need to ask questions when it's necessary. They need to be fearless, like our ancestors, like Bhagat Singh, like Netaji, like Raj Bihari Bose. So social consciousness and social awareness has to be mostly impacted using these stories and characters which are not fictional, which are real. If you look at the West, the superheroes they are created, they are fictional. They don't have any history for beyond 300 years. All they are repeating and regurgitating is World War II and all the movements relating to it. While we have a ready-made history and most inspiring way of 5,000 years. So all we need to do is find the forgotten heroes and tell the stories to the generation.
Yeah, if you see, Abhijit, in World War II, if you see the American history and the other European history, there are so many awards, so many names which have been given to, martyr awards, this award, that award, bravery award. There are thousands. You can find names if you Google them.
Yes,
हमारे आईएनए के कितने सोल्जर्स के नाम के ये अवार्ड्स है? क्या उनके नाम किसी को याद है? किसी को नहीं है.
not a
Not a
single one.
single. And in this context, you see, after 1857, the revolution was a chain reaction, like Abhijit was saying. It started with the sannyasi
Yes,
revolution. Nobody remembers the sannyasi revolution.
yes,
The sannyasis fought against the British, who had, who were the East India Company at that time. After that came another. After that came another. So everything formed a step. Sachindranath Sanyal was connected with Rashbihari Bose. Rashbihari Bose was connected with Bagha
yes,
Jatin. Sachindranath Sanyal moved on, and then Bhagat Singh came. So it's the entire process is a connected chain which gave us our independence. That is something which we are forgetting, and that is something which we need to pass on to make them part of our popular culture. That is the target.
Yes,
yes,
absolutely. There are
yes.
so many
I,
names
I
that
would like to
yes, 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 sure.
I would like to add one interesting anecdote to it. Prasun knows this that Raj Bihari Bose, while he was planning the Gadar movement, he bought a watch, a silver watch, and he called it a Gadar watch. And he said that while this watch is ticking, the bad time of British has started. As for multiple reasons, Gadar movement failed, and Raj Bihari Bose handed over that watch to Sachindranath Sanyal, saying that you are the future of Indian Revolution. Later, Sachindranath Sanyal went on, did his work, and formed HRA, Hindustan Republican Association. He was participated and one of the mastermind behind the Kakori robbery. And after the Kakori robbery, the arrests began, and most of our leaders like Ram Prasad Bismil and Ashfaqullah Khan were hanged. And somehow, before going to prison, Sachindranath Sanyal met Bhagat Singh, who was a young revolutionary by then.
Right.
Now, Sachindranath Sanyal hands over this watch, this silver watch, to Bhagat Singh, saying that this Gadar watch was handed to me by great Raj Bihari Bose. Now you take it over. As I see, you are the future of Indian Revolution. And this is a fact. This watch is still there. While Bhagat Singh went to a bomb assembly and he handed it over to Jaidev Kapoor. Jaidev Kapoor went on to Andaman for he was sentenced to life imprisonment. The watch is still there. So the point basically is it is a complete single movement. While we see them as isolated events, it is not like that. So a comprehensive study of revolutionary movement is required. It was parallel, it was very strong, and it was very well connected.
And there were, negative facts which were floating also, like Bhagat Singh, whatever he did, that was condemned by the then Congress. He had done a wrong
Yes,
thing. Rajbehari Bose,
yes,
he had to, run away from India because there was a manhunt on him. And even after he became a citizen of Japan, he had to change his residence 17 times to save himself from being assassinated in Japan. He could never come back to India, even though he loved his motherland so much that he fought for the rest of his life for its independence. Lekin, after India got independence, after Rajbehari Bose passed away, a resolution in the parliament, there are letters also, open files which are available, where the then prime minister had written that why do we bring back his ashes? He was a man who had left India. वहां पे जाके उन्होंने शादी कर ली. He has his family there. He never looked back at India. then there are so many other people who had went abroad and died. Then should we bring all of their ashes back? So ye narratives about Bhagat Singh, about Rajbari Bose, about innumerable number of people, that is wrongly stated in our history books. So that needs to be corrected also as a societal impact, I would say.
Yes, we absolutely need to have more discussions about these revolutionaries. There are so many names and so many anecdotes that I haven't heard of until like now. So this is definitely very important for the youth to know about these people so that they'll be inspired. Like you said, like everyone knows about Che Guevara, but no one knows about the revolutionaries in India. So yeah, we definitely need to have more discussions around them. So, my next question is to Mr. Prasun Roy.
Mhm.
You mentioned a preference for simple language and vivid descriptions. How do you believe this writing style enhances the reader's connection to historical narrative, especially those involving complex events like India's fight for independence?
Okay, so our works are based out of research, mostly secondary and primary researches. So there are events that we have described. Like in my book, I have described several events where Rajbari Bose was a part of. For example, the Ghadar movement. Before that, when he tried to bomb the viceroy in the year 1912, then how he worked in Japan, what were the points he gave forward to the Japanese, who were the people he was meeting, his broadcast messages that he was sending to India, all these are written in reports, in documents which are very, very official. You get to find them if you visit the National Archives of India in Delhi. You would find several of these documents available freely to be read. We don't read it, that's the different story. But if you put those data as is into a book, then it would become a boring read for people, because it is a fact that the attention span of readers have decreased. We don't tend to read chapters which are more than 10 pages long. So that is something which we authors need to keep in mind, to put it forth in a simple language. उस event को अगर हम लोग describe करते हैं with facts and figures extracted from those research materials, then it becomes more interesting for people to read it further. So you get to understand so many interesting different things. So you get to uncover facts. Like I understood how the Tagore family was also supporting the revolutionaries. They were supporting revolutionaries like Rashperi Bose. So Rabindranath Tagore's other part of the family, they were businessmen. So they had a house or a villa, 100 acres of villa called Tagore Villa Estate in Dehradun, where Rashperi Bose was hiding when he was in Dehradun, and he was making bombs there. So didn't those owners know about it? It is not told openly, but definitely they had supported these revolutionaries somehow. The king of Baroda, Maharaja Sajirao Gaikwad, he was the man who got back Rishi Aurobindo from London, and he made him the employee of the Baroda College, which is now the Maharaja Sajirao Gaikwad College University, I would say, MSU University in Baroda, one of the biggest in arts and literature in the country, I would say. So he went on to become the vice principal also. And from there, he chose to, write revolutionary letters and everything until he formed the Anushanal Samiti. So all their contributions are there, scattered all together. But if you want to make it presentable and palatable to today's readers, we need to place it in a way where we place a popular story or a narrative in front of young as well as old readers together. So the use of this writing style, I believe, helps me connect with all ages of readers so that they're interested to read it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you on that. My next question is to Mr. Abhijeet. As a visiting faculty at Mumbai University, how do you integrate your research and insights into your role, contributing to the academic understanding of historical events among students?
So in Mumbai University, I basically teach Maratha war strategy and tactics. So it is not exactly history; it's some sort of military history, or let's say military discussion. So as what do we do basically? instead of studying a particular event or particular fight in Maratha history, we encourage students to go and visit the forts. In Maharashtra, there are around 300 forts which Marathas used to rule during the time of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj and during the time of Peshwas also. So, for example, if there is a battle, for example, there is a battle of Umberkhed, which is near Pune, and there is a valley where around a force of 1 lakh Mughal soldiers were defeated by Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj without losing a single man. So, if I teach my students how the battle was fought, what strategies it was the Shivaji Maharaj had used to defeat the Mughal soldiers, and I tend to give parallel examples like from the battles of Roman emperors, from the battles of World War II, from the battles of Vietnam War, and even from the battles that are fought by Indian Army after independence. So when the students study such parallels, and when they go to the actual place and see the geographical terrain, which is as it is today, which was like 300 years ago, the students get a perfectly better understanding what kind of strategy and military tactics were used by the rulers, by Shivaji Maharaj and other rulers to win such battles. And it enables them, it empowers them to build and make better strategies when they are employed by government of India for making and designing new battle strategies or tactics for Indian army.
That's a very interesting method. Um, my next question to you is: do you have your books with you right now?
Yeah, I have it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually,
Uh,
I also have it. Just a minute.
please tell the audience why do you think your books will be a great read for them, why they should read it, and what insight they would get from it. Let's start from Mr. Prashun.
Okay, so the story of Rajbihari Bose, when I started to write it, I would like to mention over here that my literary agent, the book bakers, Mr. Suhail Mathur, he, forced me to get into writing stories on unsung heroes. And the first was on Sri Rajbihari Bose. And I am thankful to him that he did that, because now I am into this particular genre of writing continuously. And this book tells the story of a 10-year-old boy who had a dream that he would fight for the independence of his country. And that young boy lived that dream until his last breath. And he created something which was responsible for getting India her freedom. There was no ego in this particular man. Despite being a global leader, he gave the reins of the Indian National Army to Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose so that he could make the army even more stronger, even more negotiable, even more worthy. And that is where his greatness was also much larger than what we can imagine. So read this story. It would give you the effect of a thriller into your hearts, and you would understand what our revolutionaries were.
Absolutely. So, Mr. Abhijeet, please show us your book and tell us about it.
So, my book is about the man who avenged Bhagat Singh. The story goes like this. Bhagat Singh surrenders after throwing a bomb in Delhi's assembly, and he prepares a fight. He wishes to fight against the British from behind the bars. As he starts his legal fight, one of his comrades named Panindranath Ghosh, he was a central committee member, highest position holder in HSRA. He was the state head of Bihar, and this Panindranath Ghosh becomes a traitor. He gives statement against Bhagat Singh, Rajguru, Sukhdev, and all the party. He gives all the details to Britishers, uh, only in exchange of money and land. And he used to be popularly called as the king's witness because the Lahore conspiracy case was legally called as the king emperor versus Sukhdev, Bhagat Singh, and others. So this
Right.
king's witness established the conspiracy against the king, which was more dangerous crime than the murder of John Saunders, which Bhagat Singh and Rajguru had committed. So this conspiracy against the king was established by Fanindranath Ghosh, and this Fani Ghosh was responsible for hanging of Bhagat Singh, Rajguru, Sukhdev. Moreover, in Bihar, he was responsible for more hangings. This traitor went on to give statements in five more cases. He was the most favorite puppet of British government. He was awarded 50 acres land in Bihar. He was given license to run alcohol. He was given license to run an arms shop, and he was given 24/7 security with automatic riflemen. Now, when Bhagat Singh was dead, Chandrasekhar Azad was assassinated in an encounter in Alcar. A young man from Bihar, whose photo is depicted behind the Bhagat Singh, this young pre-primary teacher named Vaikunth Shukl takes it upon himself to avenge Bhagat Singh. An interesting incident goes like this. The remaining revolutionaries from Punjab sent a pamphlet in newspaper to Bihar, in which it was written कि दाग को धोओगे कि ढोओगे, means will you dare to wash the blot or will you carry it, the blot on Bihar, because the Panindranath Ghosh was head of Bihar. So this man chose to wash the blot on Bihar. He took it upon himself without using any firearm like gun or anything. He was trained in fighting kukri, the famous knife from Nepal. And in those times, and even now, Bihar and Nepal is very porous border. So this man trained himself and went on to any length to avenge his hero. Later, he was also arrested. The British tried him farcically, and he was also hanged like his hero. He was very happy to die like Bhagat Singh. And even I would add like to add to this overall general narrative. Even when Bhagat Singh and Chandrasekhar Azad was alive, there were five assassination attempts made to kill Pandirnath Ghosh, the traitor. So this story is full-packed action thriller from page one to the last, and this story is completely unknown to the popular narrative to our countrymen, and we owe to Vaikunth Shukla and the heroes in this book that our children and ourselves we should know this story. So you should give it a try.
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely.
Amazing. I'm sure our audiences will love both of your books and it will be an amazing experience for them.
Thank you.
So, yeah, that is all we had for today. It was truly a privilege to have such eminent personalities with us here. The way you articulated your thoughts with such interesting anecdotes and such history lessons in such a fun way. It will surely be an enriching experience for our audience. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.